The doorbell rang at exactly 6:47 p.m. on a Tuesday evening, and Emma's heart stopped. She wasn't expecting anyone. Through the frosted glass of her modest suburban home in Portland, she could see a tall silhouette, broad shoulders, an expensive suit that didn't belong in this neighborhood. Her hands trembled as she wiped flour from her apron, the cookies she'd been baking with Lily now forgotten. 7 years. It had been 7 years since she'd seen that posture, that presence. 7 years since Daniel Kong had walked out of her life to chase his family's empire in New York, leaving her with nothing but a broken heart and a secret growing inside her. When Emma opened the door, time collapsed. Daniel stood there, more refined than she remembered, his dark hair perfectly styled, his jawline sharper with age and success. His eyes, those deep, intense eyes that once promised her forever, widened in shock as they met hers. Neither spoke. The autumn air between them crackled with unspoken history, with love that had turned to ash, with questions that demanded answers. Emma. His voice was deeper now, rough with emotion he was clearly trying to suppress. I didn't know you still lived here. A lie. She could see it in the way his gaze flickered. Daniel Kong never did anything without research, without planning. He'd come here deliberately, but why? After all this time, why now? Mommy, can I have another cookie? Lily's sweet voice rang out, and Emma's blood turned to ice. She tried to close the door, tried to block Daniel's view, but it was too late. Her 6-year-old daughter appeared at her side, all curious dark eyes and beautiful features that were unmistakably a perfect blend of Emma's gentle curves and Daniel's striking heritage. The silence stretched unbearably. Daniel's eyes moved from Emma to Lily, then back again, his expression shifting from confusion to realization to something that looked like devastation mixed with wonder. His lips parted, but no words came. Emma could see him counting backwards in his mind, calculating, putting pieces together. Dad. The single word fell from Lily's lips like a bomb, and Emma's entire world shattered. Her daughter was staring up at Daniel with recognition that shouldn't be possible, with eyes that somehow knew what Emma had tried so desperately to hide. How could Lily know? Emma had never shown her pictures, never spoken his name. But there was no mistaking the certainty in her daughter's voice, or the way Daniel's face went absolutely white. Daniel couldn't move. His legs felt like concrete as he stared at the little girl who had just called him Dad. Lily! Emma had whispered her name moments ago, trying to usher her back inside, but the child stood her ground with a stubborn tilt of her chin that was painfully familiar. It was the same defiance he saw in the mirror every morning. His daughter. He had a daughter. The words echoed in his mind like a prayer and an accusation all at once. 6 years of her life, gone. Birthdays, first words, first steps, all stolen from him. But whose fault was that? Emma's face had gone pale, her green eyes filled with panic and something else he couldn't quite read. Guilt? Fear? She reached for Lily's shoulder, but Daniel finally found his voice. Wait. The single word came out hoarse, desperate. Please, Emma. I need to understand. His hand gripped the doorframe as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. 7 years ago, he'd left Portland believing Emma had moved on, that she'd chosen her independence over their future together. His mother had shown him the photos, the evidence of Emma with another man. It had destroyed him. But now, looking at this child who shared his features, doubt crashed through every certainty he'd built. There's nothing to understand, Daniel. Emma's voice was steady, but her hands shook as she positioned herself between him and Lily. You need to leave. The words cut like glass, but Daniel saw the fear behind her bravado. She was protecting their daughter from him. The realization twisted something deep in his chest. What had he done to deserve this? What had his family done? Lily tugged on Emma's sleeve, her young voice confused. Mommy, why is Dad here? Did he come back like you said he would? The innocent question made Emma's composure crack. A single tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it, and Daniel watched as she quickly wiped it away. So she had told Lily about him. She kept his memory alive for their daughter even while hiding her from him. I'm not leaving. Daniel's jaw tightened with determination. Not until we talk. Not until you tell me why you kept my daughter from me." His voice rose with emotion he couldn't control. Years of imagined betrayal, of loneliness, of wondering what if all of it came pouring out. "Did I mean so little to you, Emma? Did what we had mean nothing?" Emma's eyes flashed with anger now, replacing the fear. "You left me, Daniel. You chose them over us." The accusation hung in the air between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Behind her, Lily watched with wide eyes, and Daniel knew this confrontation was far from over. Emma's words echoed in the quiet evening air, and Daniel felt them like a physical blow. "I chose them?" His voice cracked with disbelief. "Emma, you disappeared. You changed your number, moved without telling me. I came back for you 3 months after I left, and you were gone." He ran his hand through his hair, the carefully maintained composure he'd worn like armor finally shattering. "My mother told me you'd moved on, that you were seeing someone else. She showed me pictures." The color drained from Emma's face. "Pictures?" Her voice was barely a whisper, but Daniel could see the moment understanding dawned in her eyes. The anger there shifted into something darker, betrayal, but not directed at him. "Your mother." It wasn't a question. Emma's hands clenched into fists at her sides, and for a moment, she looked like she might break down completely. Instead, she straightened her spine, that fierce strength he'd always loved rising to the surface. "Sophie. Those pictures were with Sophie and her boyfriend. We were helping them move." Daniel's world tilted. 7 years of resentment, of believing Emma had abandoned what they had, suddenly felt like sand slipping through his fingers. His mother had lied. She'd manipulated them both, kept them apart. "Emma, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." He took a step forward, desperate to make her understand, but she held up her hand to stop him. "It doesn't matter now." But her voice wavered, and Daniel could see she was fighting tears. "You still chose to believe her over me. You didn't even give me a chance to explain." The accusation stung because it was true. He'd been young, hurt, and too proud to fight for the truth. Behind Emma, Lily had gone quiet, sensing the gravity of the adult conversation unfolding before her. "Mommy?" Lily's small voice broke through the tension. "Are you sad?" The little girl moved closer, wrapping her arms around Emma's leg in a protective gesture that made Daniel's heart ache. This child, his child, didn't even know him, and already she was defending her mother against him. Emma knelt down, pulling Lily into a tight embrace. "I'm okay, sweetheart." She pressed a kiss to the top of Lily's head, then looked up at Daniel with eyes that held both pain and resolve. "But your father needs to leave now." The finality in her voice made it clear this conversation was over, but Daniel knew with absolute certainty that he wasn't going anywhere. Not this time. Daniel stood his ground on Emma's doorstep, his mind racing with everything he'd just learned. His mother's deception, the lost years, the daughter he never knew existed, it was too much to process, too much to simply walk away from. "I have rights, Emma." The words came out harder than he intended, and he immediately regretted them when he saw her expression harden. "I didn't mean it like that. I need time. Time to know her. Time to understand what happened between us." Before Emma could respond, a car pulled into the driveway behind Daniel's sleek black Mercedes. A man stepped out, tall, sandy-haired, with the easy confidence of someone completely comfortable in this space. Marcus Reed. Daniel recognized him immediately from the research he'd done before coming here. Emma's business partner at the small architectural firm downtown, and according to every photo Daniel had found online, much more than that. The way Marcus's eyes went straight to Emma, the protective set of his shoulders as he approached, this was a man in love. "Everything okay here, Em?" Marcus's voice was casual, but his gaze on Daniel was assessing, almost challenging. He moved to Emma's side with a familiarity that made Daniel's jaw clench. This was the life Emma had built without him, a career, a home, a man who clearly wanted to be more than just her friend. Marcus placed a gentle hand on Emma's shoulder, and Daniel had to fight the urge to step forward and remove it. Marcus, this is Daniel Kong. Emma's voice was carefully neutral, but Daniel caught the slight tremor in it. Daniel, Marcus Reed. My. She hesitated, and in that pause, Daniel saw Marcus's expression shift, hope mixed with uncertainty. My business partner and friend. The clarification should have relieved Daniel, but the way Marcus's face fell told him everything he needed to know. Here was his rival, the second male lead in Emma's story, the man who'd been there for her when Daniel hadn't. The Daniel Kong? Marcus's tone cooled considerably. I've heard about you. Nothing about his expression suggested he'd heard anything good. He looked down at Lily, who still clung to Emma's side, and his features softened immediately. Hey there, princess. Rough day? Lily nodded, and the easy affection between them was like a knife to Daniel's chest. This man knew his daughter. Had probably been there for birthdays, school events, bedtime stories, all the moments Daniel had missed. Daniel's phone buzzed in his pocket, but he ignored it. Nothing mattered more than this moment, than fighting for a chance to be part of his daughter's life. But as he watched the three of them, Emma, Lily, and Marcus, standing together like a family, doubt crept in. Maybe he was the intruder here. Maybe he'd lost his chance 7 years ago when he'd gotten on that plane to New York. Daniel's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Finally, he pulled it out, his eyes darkening as he read the screen. I have to go. The words felt like surrender, but the messages from his father were clear, the board meeting couldn't wait. He looked at Emma, then at Lily, memorizing every detail of his daughter's face. But I'll be back tomorrow. We need to talk, Emma. Really talk. His voice softened on the last words, a plea hidden beneath the determination. Emma said nothing, but the conflict in her eyes spoke volumes. She wanted him gone, yet something held her back from slamming the door completely. As Daniel walked to his car, he heard Lily's voice call out behind him. Bye, Dad. The innocent farewell nearly broke him. He turned, raised his hand in a small wave, then drove away with his heart in pieces. In his rearview mirror, he saw Marcus's arms settle around Emma's shoulders, and jealousy burned through him like acid. The next morning, Daniel arrived at Emma's house at 8 sharp with coffee and pastries from the bakery he remembered she loved. But when Emma opened the door, her expression was guarded. Lily's at school. You can't just show up whenever you want, Daniel. She didn't invite him in, didn't take the coffee he offered. Behind her, he could see Marcus sitting at the kitchen table, clearly having stayed the night. The sight made Daniel's chest tighten with possessive anger he had no right to feel. Then tell me when I can see her. Daniel's voice was strained. Tell me what I need to do, Emma. I'll do anything. The desperation in his words hung between them, and for a moment, he thought he saw her resolve weakening. But then Marcus appeared behind her, and Emma's walls went back up. You need to understand something, Daniel. Emma's voice trembled slightly. Lily has a life here. A stable life. I won't let you disrupt that just because you suddenly decided you want to play father. The accusation stung, but before Daniel could respond, his phone rang. His mother. He declined the call, but it rang again immediately. Then a text appeared, emergency. Isabella knows. Come home now. Daniel's face must have betrayed his panic because Emma's expression shifted from anger to concern. What's wrong? But Daniel was already backing away, his mind racing. Isabella Westwood, his fiancée arranged by his parents, had somehow found out about Lily. If she told his family before he could control the narrative, everything would explode. Daniel's hands shook as he drove back to his hotel, his mother's calls relentless. When he finally answered, Catherine Kang's voice was ice and fury combined. You have a child? With that girl? The venom in her tone made Daniel's blood boil. Isabella's family is threatening to pull out of the merger. Do you understand what you've done? 7 years of planning, billions of dollars, all jeopardized because you couldn't keep your past buried. Her name is Emma. Daniel's voice was dangerously quiet. And that child is your granddaughter. The line went silent for a long moment before his mother laughed, a cold, calculated sound that sent chills down his spine. She'd always been ruthless in business, but this was different. This was personal. Listen carefully, Daniel. Catherine's tone shifted to the one she used in boardrooms when destroying competitors. You will fix this. You'll marry Isabella as planned, and you'll make that woman sign away any claim to the Kong fortune. If she refuses, I'll bury her. I'll take that child through every court in this country until Emma Harper has nothing left. The threat was clear, and Daniel knew his mother well enough to know she meant every word. You'll stay away from them. Daniel's voice cracked with barely contained rage. I mean it, Mother. Touch either of them, and I'll walk away from everything. The company, the family, all of it. He ended the call before she could respond, his heart hammering against his ribs. He'd just declared war on his own family, but the image of Lily's innocent face gave him strength. Some things were worth fighting for. Back in Portland, Emma sat at her kitchen table with Sophie, her best friend having rushed over after Emma's panicked call. He has a fiancée, Sophie. A fiancée. Emma's voice broke on the word. I saw it on my phone this morning. Isabella Westwood, the hotel heiress. They're getting married in 3 months. The engagement photos showed Daniel in a tuxedo, Isabella's hand displaying a massive diamond ring, both of them looking perfect together. That doesn't mean he doesn't want to know Lily, Sophie said gently, but Emma shook her head. She'd been foolish to let hope creep back in yesterday, foolish to think Daniel's return meant anything more than obligation. He had a whole life in New York, a fiancé, an empire to run, a future that clearly didn't include a child from his past. Daniel didn't return to New York. Instead, he checked into a small hotel in Portland and spent 3 days gathering the courage to face Emma again. When he finally showed up at her architectural firm, she was in a meeting with Marcus, their heads bent over blueprints. Through the glass wall, Daniel watched them work together with the easy synchronization of people who'd spent years building something meaningful. Marcus said something that made Emma laugh, and the sound pierced Daniel's heart. He'd once been the one who made her laugh like that. When Emma finally noticed him standing outside her office, her smile vanished. She excused herself from the meeting, and Daniel could see Marcus's concerned expression as she stepped into the hallway. You shouldn't be here. Her voice was cold, professional. This is my workplace, Daniel. My life that you're not part of. But her eyes betrayed her, there was hurt there, buried beneath the anger. She'd seen the engagement photos. Of course she had. I broke it off. The words tumbled out before Daniel could stop them. With Isabella. This morning. I called off the engagement. Emma's face went pale, then flushed with anger he didn't understand. Behind her, through the glass, Marcus had stood up, clearly ready to intervene if needed. Emma, I need you to understand that engagement was never real. It was arranged by our families for business. I never loved her. I never stopped. Don't. Emma's hand shot up, stopping him. Don't you dare finish that sentence. Her voice shook with emotion. You think you can just walk back into my life, blow everything up, and expect me to what? Be grateful? You have a fiancé, Daniel. You have a whole life that doesn't include us. And now you've destroyed that too? For what? Tears threatened at the corners of her eyes, but she blinked them back furiously. For you. For Lily. For the chance to be the father I should have been. Daniel took a step closer, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. Emma, 7 years ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I let my family convince me you didn't want me. I let pride and hurt keep me from fighting for us. But I won't make that mistake again. Emma's resolve cracked, just slightly. You don't understand what you're asking, she whispered. Your mother called me this morning. She threatened to take Lily away from me if I don't disappear. She has lawyers, money, power, everything I don't have. The confession hung between them, and Daniel's world turned red with fury. Daniel's rage was immediate and all-consuming. His mother had threatened Emma, had tried to use their daughter as a weapon. She had no right. his voice was dangerously low. "Emma, I swear to you, I'll handle this. She won't touch you or Lily. I'll make sure of it." But even as he spoke, he could see the fear in Emma's eyes. She knew the power the Kang family wielded, knew that promises meant nothing against their resources and ruthlessness. "How, Daniel?" Emma's voice cracked. "How will you stop her? She's your mother. She controls everything in your life, your job, your money, your future. What are you going to do, walk away from all of it?" The challenge in her words was clear. She didn't believe he could choose them over his family empire. Why would she? He'd already chosen wrong once before. "I can't let you tear your life apart because of guilt. Lily and we've been fine without you. We'll continue to be fine." But Daniel saw through the brave facade. Her hands trembled as she spoke, and the circles under her eyes told him she hadn't slept. "You're not fine, Emma. My mother scared you. And Lily deserves to know her father." He reached for her hand before he could stop himself, and the moment their skin touched, electricity sparked between them. Emma gasped softly, and Daniel saw her pupils dilate. The attraction that had burned between them 7 years ago hadn't died. If anything, it had only grown stronger with time and loss. Emma pulled her hand back as if burned, but the damage was done. They both felt it, the undeniable connection that had never truly broken. "This isn't about us," she whispered, but her voice lacked conviction. "This is about Lily. About what's best for her." She wrapped her arms around herself protectively, creating distance between them. "Marcus proposed last night." The words hit Daniel like a physical blow. He staggered back, his vision tunneling. "What? Marcus?" Of course Marcus would choose this moment, would sense Daniel's presence as a threat and make his move. "What did you say?" Daniel's heart hammered against his ribs as he waited for her answer, terrified of what it might be. "I said I needed time." Emma's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "He's been good to us, Daniel. He loves Lily like she's his own. He's stable, reliable, present. Everything you weren't." Each word was a knife, precisely aimed. "Maybe that's what we need. Maybe love isn't enough when someone can give us safety instead." But even as she spoke, Daniel could see her wavering, could see the war raging behind her eyes. Daniel felt his world collapsing. "Safety?" His voice was raw with desperation. "Emma, I can give you that. I can give you everything. Just give me a chance to prove it." But before she could respond, Marcus burst through the office door, his expression dark. He'd clearly overheard enough of their conversation, and the protective fury in his eyes was unmistakable. "She doesn't owe you anything, Kang." Marcus positioned himself between Daniel and Emma, his body language aggressive. "You had 7 years to come back. 7 years to be a father. Where were you when Lily was sick with pneumonia at 3? Where were you for her first day of school?" "I was there. I've always been there." The accusation landed with brutal accuracy, and Daniel had no defense. Marcus was right, he'd missed everything that mattered. Emma touched Marcus's arm gently. "Marcus, please. Not here." But her colleague-turned-protector wouldn't back down. Daniel could see the love Marcus had for Emma written across his face, and it twisted something deep inside him. This was his punishment, watching another man love his family while he stood on the outside looking in. "I'm going to New York tonight." Daniel's voice was hollow. "I'm going to handle my family, permanently. I'm going to sign over my shares of the company to my brother Eric. I'm walking away from all of it." The declaration made Emma's eyes widen in shock. "And then I'm coming back here, to Portland, and I'm going to fight for my daughter. For both of you." He looked directly at Emma, his gaze intense. "I love you. I never stopped. And I know I have no right to say that, but it's the truth." Emma's tears finally spilled over, streaming down her cheeks. "Daniel, you can't just," but he was already moving toward the door, his decision made. He paused at the threshold, looking back one last time. "I'm not him, Emma. I'm not the boy who left you 7 years ago. I'm a man who knows what he lost, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving I deserve a second chance." That evening, as Daniel's plane lifted off toward New York, Emma sat in Lily's bedroom watching her daughter sleep. Sophie had taken Lily for the day to give Emma space to think. Marcus's proposal ring sat on her nightstand, a simple, elegant band that represented everything safe and predictable. But her heart ached for the man flying toward an impossible choice, ready to sacrifice everything for a love that terrified her. 3 weeks passed in agonizing silence. Emma heard nothing from Daniel, and the uncertainty was torture. She declined Marcus's proposal gently, honestly, telling him she couldn't marry him while her heart belonged to someone else. He'd accepted with grace and heartbreak, their friendship strained but intact. Then, one afternoon, a news alert flashed across her phone: Daniel Kong steps down from Family Empire, cites personal reasons. Her hands shook as she read the article. He'd actually done it. That evening, the doorbell rang. Emma opened it to find Daniel standing there, looking exhausted but lighter somehow, as if a massive weight had been lifted from his shoulders. "I'm back." His voice was quiet, uncertain. "I signed everything over to Eric. My mother tried to fight it, but my father surprisingly supported my decision. Turns out he's been waiting years for me to choose my own path." He held up a document. Legal custody agreement, drafted by the best family lawyer in New York. "I'm not asking for anything you're not comfortable with. Whatever you want, whatever Lily needs, that's what matters." Emma couldn't speak. 7 years of walls, of protection, of fear, all of it crumbled as she looked at the man who'd given up an empire for their daughter. For her. "You really did it," she whispered. "You walked away from everything." Daniel stepped closer, and this time she didn't pull away when he reached for her hand. "I walked toward everything that matters." His thumb traced circles on her palm, sending shivers through her body. "Emma, I know I have to earn your trust. I know I have years of missed time to make up for with Lily. I'm not asking you to forgive me right now or to jump back into what we had. I'm just asking for a chance. Let me be her father. Let me prove that I'm here to stay." Before Emma could answer, small footsteps thundered down the stairs. Lily appeared, her eyes widening with delight. "Dad! You came back!" She launched herself at Daniel, who caught her with a surprised laugh, lifting her into his arms. The pure joy on his face as he held his daughter for the first time made Emma's remaining defenses shatter completely. Over Lily's head, Daniel's eyes met Emma's, and in that gaze she saw everything: love, hope, promise, and unwavering commitment. "We have time," Emma said softly, her voice thick with emotion. "All the time in the world to figure this out. Together." And as Daniel smiled, the devastating smile she'd fallen in love with so long ago, Emma finally let herself believe that some love stories, no matter how broken, could find their way to a happy ending.